Nice to meet you all. I'm Greg with BWG, and Bill Nelson over at T-Systems is going to be helping co-host today, co-moderate, whatever we want to call it. But we do a lot of these. We've done a great series with T-Systems. This is going to be a lot of fun today. I'll give the full rundown in terms of how it works, what you all can expect in just another minute. Give everyone another 60 seconds to filter in. But this is, I promise you, my hope is that everyone's going to find this a very worthwhile hour. So my promise is no sales pitches. That's the format. I've been doing this for a long time. You don't need to hear from me or Bill or any vendors a pitch. The way we set it up is basically let's share some real world stories around what people are actually doing and problems y'all are trying to solve. Oh, sorry, Guillermo, can you hear us all right?
I can hear you now. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Awesome. Tony, I see you're on the line. Thanks for joining, Tony Toth.
Yep. Hey, afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. There's Cindy Standard. All right, we're ready to roll. I'm counting 16, and I'm sure people will continue to filter in. So my name's Greg Irwin. I'm one of the partners at BWG, and I've gotten to the point where I'm doing this for a living. Moderating discussion groups. I was an IT guy for a long time, product manager, and building and running and managing IT products and systems. We basically stood up this network. BWG is about 80,000 people now who are talking. We do 12 sessions a day on all range of tech topics. Everything as specific as 3D printing systems to transitions to cloud platforms. So we're partnered today with Bill Nelson and the team at T-Systems. And what we're going to do is basically moderate a group conversation for folks in the energy sector around what specifically people are doing in terms of their IT infrastructure. Where's the pain point? Maybe it's cost savings, maybe it's modernization, maybe it's automation. It's really up to the group. My job to moderate is just to basically bring the conversation forward. And then I'm going to encourage everybody to participate. So ask questions, add in your own comments, and of course, use this group for networking. So what I'll do at the end of it is share everybody's name and company, not posting anybody's email address. But if Holger, you want to connect with Guillermo or vice versa or whatever, you guys can go directly. It doesn't have to be through BWG or T-Systems. And just look around the room, the virtual room here, and use it as a resource. One other thing, just let's throw something out there. We got 20 of us on the line, and we're on a Zoom. So show me your best Zoom backdrop, and the winner here gets a $50 gift card. All right, let's make it interesting. See what people have on their desktops. Keep it PG though. All right, safe for work. All right, hey Bill, do me a favor. Give a quick intro to the assembled group here.
Hi everyone. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us today. I hope we'll have an enlightening, productive discussion. My name is Bill Nelson. I am with T-Systems, and I am the Oil and Gas and Energy Practice Manager, working out of our Houston office. And my job is to align the services, infrastructure, and resources that we provide our clients with their industry-specific requirements. So it'll be very useful for me to hear you guys talk about what your goals are, your initiatives, what are you trying to accomplish, and where are you seeing fruit, and where are you seeing challenges?
Perfect. Well, now, I promise no sales pitches, so I'm not looking for one, but Bill, who is T-Systems? For folks here who don't just know the name, haven't done any projects with you, who are you guys? What do you do?
Well, T-Systems is a subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom out of Germany. We used to be Deutsche's IT wing, and they spun us off into a pretty large global consulting entity. We still provide IT for our parent company and for our sister company, T-Mobile. And we're also a really strong telecom company in terms of network communications from an IT standpoint. We have 36 large data centers around the world that we own and operate, where we host a lot of SAP virtualized workflows and industry-specific applications, like for seismic data, for example. And then some of our largest clients are Daimler, Volkswagen, and Shell Oil.
All right, perfect. So I hear a lot of managed work. Are you doing strategy transformation as well?
Yes, we're a full service consulting firm. We're able to come in and consult around strategy and tactics, and then facilitate the development of a plan, and then manage that plan. And then we have consequently established a tremendous amount of infrastructure that we own and we control pursuant to hosting those processes, and then also helping to convert as much money from CapEx to OpEx as possible.
All right. So, all right, let's start our session here. Bill, thank you for the intro. I don't think we need to belabor the point that it's a difficult time in the market, not just with COVID, but $40 oil and an overall recessionary environment. So there's a huge pressure on cost. That's the obvious. What I'd like to do is, with that understood, go around our group and find out what people are doing about it. Right? You have to run operations. You can't cut your legs out from under you. You have to be able to recover from this. But so we should talk about, how are people getting lean? How are people saving money? And still trying to be agile so that you can provide the services the business needs to innovate. All right. So with that, let's get it started. I'm going to go to Michael. Michael, you were nice and early on our call, so I'm gonna take that as an opportunity to have you go on the early part of the call. Give a quick intro to your peer group.
Okay. I don't know, being early, it sounds like being picked on. No, Mike Farr, we're here at Scope Services, and so basically we provide manpower for the utility companies and so forth, and field service representatives, basically the AMI and the gas and water metering infrastructure support. So to answer your question about how we're looking at changing things, one, we were affected by COVID with people wanting to go out to various locations. Luckily, as we all know, utility, especially when you replace a meter and such, what is an independent type of job. However, it's still requires people to get out there. It's still more demand on the signal when they get out there, so people are less likely to let it go up and down. So what we've really stressed now is virtual installs, virtual self-help type of stuff to really get our the customer up and running, and while still meeting our project demands.
I mean, that sounds great. Is that the new business model going forward? Do you think that's been a catalyst here for better operation?
Yeah, part of it. So for demand response and some of the simple things like help desk and things that the consumer can do by themselves, we're building a really robust virtual backbone training video, interactive messaging system and so forth, but we still have to put hands on meters and hands on poles and stuff like that. So the beauty is what we're developing for the consumer with the virtual is also helping out with our field technicians. So they're able to now have their iPhone or whatever, smartphone, and being able to pull up the steps and so forth within the work order management system. So it's really driving, COVID is driving that we have to help the consumer out, but it's also helping out innovation on what we do on a day-to-day basis.
I got it. So, I mean, I love that. How was IT pulled in as part of that project? Was that IT's, hey, why don't we do this? Or was that the, somebody in the business coming to you saying, we need you here this weekend because we can't get there and we need to be remote and we don't know how to do it?
So the business came to us with hair on fire saying, oh my God, we have no idea. And we know there's this IT thingy. Go figure it out, come back one day. And really the team around me is driving these what if conversations. Hey, what if we do use virtual reality? What if we do that to really focus and challenge the status quo? Because like it or not, the utility industry is pretty much a tablet with a chisel type of way we do business. So we're really trying to bring them into the 21st century and so forth. So IT is now coming out of the basement, literally and figuratively, and actually driving the business sales for us.
Great. One last one. Tough times. I've been through this where, CIOs come and said, all right, we're just going to do a 20% reduction. I've lived through that probably 3 times. What's something you've done that you think you can share with the group outside of just cutting heads? That's been an opportunity to get leaner, save some money, do something that's that might help this group in terms of the conversation.
Actually, just the opposite happened here. Is we did not get leaner, we actually got fatter, and the reason why we got fatter was because we now have new things like security. Well, shoot, I never had to worry about security. Now I'm connecting a consumer to my network to a third or fourth order individual to help out. So now security, PII information and so forth is much more important. Development efforts. Now we're driving down that train of virtual reality and augmented reality where we never had to worry about that before. So, and for us at least, our IT shop is growing, and the need for infrastructure is growing because if you go, and we do everything from handheld devices all the way through servers. If you go out to any of our OEM partners and say, hey, I need a Chromebook, they laugh at you and say, yeah, we'll get you one in about 1.5 years. So now my infrastructure IT people are now having to take a step back and figure out, okay, well, how can I support with some legacy systems? So the workload has, if anything, has increased for the IT shop. They used to be working 60 hours a week. Now they work about 60 hours a day.
Unreal. Well, I love it. It's a success. Michael, I'm so glad I started with you. Thank you very much. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go around the group and share some stories, hopefully stuff that's useful for across the entire group. We've also got a chat window. So if you don't want to, have to stand up and explain the question or comment, you could always just drop it in there. Or you could raise a hand. If you just swipe down to the bottom, there's a reactions where you could put a thumb up or a hand up, and we can use that to moderate as well. And for those of you who joined a little bit late, show us your best Zoom backdrop and you win a $50 gift card, and we'll all vote on that. All right. Hey, Chris Gilbert, it looks like it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Do me a favor, give a quick intro here to the group, please.
Pretty much. So my name is Christopher Gilbert, head of IT for Flowtech Industries. I've been in IT for about 20 years, mostly in oil field services. Really working on taking a maybe the nicest way of saying it, traditional oil field service company, and helping them pivot to become a little more cloud oriented and eliminate a lot of the legacy IT infrastructure. So that's largely what I've been working on over the past 6-7 months with them, but been in IT for a
Interesting.
while.
All right, tell us one big initiative. Your,
Biggest initiative, just for us was, prior to the pandemic, this organization didn't have Skype or Teams or anything of the equivalent, right? So right out of the gate, starting with the organization in December, he immediately said, let's get to Office 365, let's get to Teams, let's get to something that is a little more collaborative in nature, and not the week of the pandemic and everybody starting to stay home, we turned Teams on and had everybody start using Teams. So that was one of our biggest things, is just getting people used to using something that, they had been historically email and telephone centric.
I got it. And what about in terms of cost savings? If cost savings has been one of the factors through this,
it has been. It has been. We've had some reductions in staff, and we've really had to go to the leadership team and say, okay, you're putting us in a keep the lights on mode. One of the other things is prior to the pandemic with this organization, they were already suffering loss of revenue and trying to pivot and looking to reduce costs and better manage costs. So it's been one of those of, finding lots of things where, you end up having to spend more to manage it better in order to reduce your costs, right? And so that's been a big part of what we're trying to been focus on with this team as well.
What's one area where you can see a pretty, maybe less than 12-month return on investment, where maybe it's, avoiding your next server refresh, or what's one category you look at and say, that's meaningful. That's going to move the needle on efficiency and cost.
Yeah, for us, it's going to be, twofold and centered on ERP. Again, when you're in an organization where things are going really well, it's really easy to throw resources at your problems, especially if you have poor process and poor performance. You just throw more resources at it, you throw more money at it. But then you start to not have that money and those resources anymore, and you can't, use that as a solution. So for us, the organization has invested a great deal of money over the last decade in an ERP system, but done a very poor job of education. The knowledge is very tribal, and so a lot of the people, who knew how we did things or why we did certain things have left the organization. So over the course of the next 12 months, our biggest, bang for the buck is going to be rationalizing our ERP choice. Do we continue with it? Do we switch gears? But a big part of that too is going to be coming to some good understanding of, why do we even have an ERP environment? What are we using it for? What is it really doing for us? And let's not just be doing things because
Christopher, sorry, what's your ERP now?
JD Edwards Enterprise One.
All right. So I'll bet you most of this group has lived through an ERP transformation.
Yep.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Change management is brutal. And they're always expensive.
Yep.
So how do you get off? It's funny. An old mentor of mine always said, the other side of the desert might be beautiful, but you'll die trying to cross the desert.
Yep.
And I always think about that when I think about ERP. It's like trying to cross the Sahara Desert on foot.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that we have a lot of folks that are making choices on can we as opposed to should we, right? Because this tool will do so much for us, we should use it. And then you look back and say, whoa, admittedly, Excel isn't the most high-tech approach to some things, but sometimes it's good enough, and it's much more cost-effective to stick with that than it is to invest tens of thousands of dollars in a certain ERP function. So it's getting people back to, what is our core process? What do we need it to be? If it's different from what you know, every ERP system provides, then why is it different? And it can't be just, oh, this is, you know, the way we've always done things. It has to be something that's a business differentiator. And if it's not, then let's go back to doing it the way everybody else does it and focus on the things that do make us a different company than others, right?
Absolutely. All right, 3 years from now, are you going to be on Great Plains?
Could be Great Plains, could be NetSuites, could be, you know, who knows what's and where, right? But I mean, there's this, you know, there's a significant rationalization that has to happen for us to decide, you know, how much do we really need some of this, particularly if you don't have the people and you don't have the standardized processes and the discipline. You know, it's a shame, because in many ways we've invested tons into a system that will do a lot for us. But A, we're not utilizing it for those things, or B, we're doing it wrong because we don't understand how the system works, right? So great, you went and bought a system, but it's not the solution to your problem.
At a minimum, could you just stand it up in Azure, or, you know?
Potentially. I mean, that's one of the things. Our costs are less about the infrastructure pieces and more simply just Oracle support and maintenance, right? I mean, you know, let's not even get started on how much fun that is to deal with. And it's not just Oracle, right? It's Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, any one of them. You know, you make this massive investment and then you end up paying support and maintenance forever, and those costs tend to start to skyrocket, and renegotiating that is no fun. So we are looking at, you know, like I said, we were no cloud up until earlier part of this year. We have, you know, started into the Office 365 Azure space, and we've actually made an acquisition that does some AWS work. And so one of our first ERP-ish cloud-oriented things is going to be, you know, disaster recovery. Let's at least set up a disaster recovery environment in the cloud. You know, that's a cheap way to get going, and then we might find that if it, you know, works well enough for us, then everything can easily move in that direction. So, but we do have a lot of on-prem infrastructure that we're going to have to get rid of. Old file servers, you know, Exchange 2010, things like that. So.
All right, great stuff. Christopher, lots of luck to you, and thanks so much for joining this group and sharing some of it. Thank you.
All right.
Let's go on over. I know, Darren, you were on for a minute. I think we just lost you. Are you back? Are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm actually, we just had the power go out here due to this windstorm that's going on. I'm in through my cell phone, so no video at the moment. The internet's just rebooting.
All right. Well, your audio is clear. Your audio is great. Please give a quick intro.
Yeah, hi, Darren Bloom. I'm the CTO for Grant County PUD, 2,800 square miles in the city, in the center of the state of Washington. 2,200 megawatts of hydropower and 2 dams. A lot of distribution, not a lot of trees in the middle of the semi-arid desert, but I actually live on the other side of the mountains, hence the windstorm and the trees falling around my neighborhood. We actually started with a very aggressive, I was hired to do a complete transformation of the utilities. So about December, and we're replacing all of our systems. There was a lot of technical debt, probably 10 years with no changes to the infrastructure or the application layer. So a lot of pent-up demand, making that part of my life easy, getting authorization, but also as we start to make changes, everybody wants some. So it's kind of a different problem to have. About December, we were in the middle of our Microsoft 365 project with a kind of a Q2 target. We saw them locked down in China and pulled all the stops out, rolled out Teams and all of Office 365 in February, closed the doors on our facilities. 2 weeks later, moved the entirety of the organization to working from home, including the call center, which had never been outside the offices, in about 4 days.
How many employees? Hey, Darren, how many employees is that?
About 700. Including the craft and field workers. So those folks typically, you know, we've got some of them are still on paid administrative leave because they're in a high risk category and they're not critical. So we've you know, it's a public utility, so we probably have a little more flexibility for that kind of things than other folks, and a little more tolerance for it. But we're basically at full operations, and largely because we made a a quick move to cloud-hosted services as part of a cloud-first strategy when I came on board and implemented our roadmap. We are in the middle of moving our entire customer information system off-prem to Oracle's cloud-hosted solution set as well. So we've continued to kind of de-risk the on-prem. I think last year we had a rainstorm that flooded the street in the middle of a freighter population of 5,500, which is next door to my data center, getting water in the downstairs of the building. So not a lot of forethought as to where things were put historically, just whatever happened to be available. And we're also at the point of refresh at the hardware layer and are looking at hyper-converged infrastructure for what must remain on premise. Everything else is going to be backed up to the cloud at a minimum for cloud operations for business continuity versus on-premise secondary site. So I'll stop there.
Darren, if you're going through the process of going to Oracle's cloud, why not just get off Oracle? I'm saying that just because they're famously expensive. I don't know if there's a better alternative, but why'd you stay with Oracle on that transformation?
Yeah, I'll narrow it down for you because first, it's not the full Oracle envelope. It's Oracle's customer care and billing and meter data management capabilities, which is in the utility vertical only. So CC&B. It's funny, we rolled out automated meter management as automated meter reading prior to me coming on board. It finished up about a year ago, but we didn't have a meter data management system, which is kind of the opposite way that's normally done. So we're picking up the MDM capability as well as the upgrade of the CIS, because as I mentioned, ours was woefully out of date, and it was going to cost us about $7 million to go through the upgrade process on-prem. We decided to bite the bullet, do it one last time. It's not cheap, but when you do the math on the long-term total cost of ownership and the fact that we're off of that, pay a big consulting firm to come in and do our upgrades for us, it made sense for us.
Got it. I got it.
I can't tell you that trying to buy other things from Oracle is exceptionally difficult because you're crossing organizational boundaries, and just getting single sign-on to work took 5 different business units, it seemed like, to get the thing to work. In this transition to cloud, what's happened to the overall cost of operations? So
from steady state to steady state.
Yeah, so for a utility like ours, we love to capitalize everything. We're a PUD, so we're a pseudo-governmental entity, and our accounting rules are kind of different than the private sector, allowing us to capitalize things, I think, more aggressively as it gets built in kind of the rate base. So we would love to have capital projects and buy equipment and licensing, but because it's, as according to our CFO, it's about an 8-to-1 pricing advantage, but we're finding that the business impacts are beneficial enough to offset that move to an OpEx cost. And when I was in the private sector, we wanted everything to be OpEx, right? We didn't want to have a lot of stuff hanging over our head long term. It's different where I'm at now, and utilities in the public sector space like to have a lot of long-term capital investment projects. But we've seen the benefit occur. For the exact numbers, I don't have them top of mind. We're in the middle of the budget process right now for getting that finalized.
Net, are you going to save money?
Yeah, net, we're definitely saving money. I would tell you that we saved millions just by getting the Office 365 implementation and Teams up and running before the pandemic.
Great. That's a good story. Excellent. Hey, let me remind folks, drop your questions in, add your comments, and I'm going to do my best to keep stirring the pot. Hey, Bill, let's get you back into the mix. Bill, same story for you. What are you working with customers on, and what kind of transformations? Give us a transformation story for one of your customers.
Well, so one of the things that is happening with low oil prices is that there is a real burning, raging fire around converting CapEx to OpEx. And so we are, we've got a lot of history and experience with running the back office Windows type environments, VMware, et cetera. But we are building out some industry specific, high availability, high performance tier compute and storage solutions to be able to migrate very large seismic scientific data sets off of aging infrastructure onto our infrastructure, and then offer that very high availability back to the clients. And we really kind of what I think we've done is very different. Instead of trying to get the clients to the cloud, we've brought the cloud to the client. So basically, we've set up what appears to be a cloud in every respect, except that it's right over the wall or down the hall in the data center where they live. And so the bandwidth and the network requirements are highly supportable. The speed and availability, the cost, all of those things are extremely top tier and very manageable. So that's what a lot of our focus is on right now. We've recently converted our entire dynamic cloud platform to a hyper-converged infrastructure. And then now behind that and around that, we're building out some more NVMe, AI, high-performance compute type infrastructure to support very industry-specific challenges.
So I think I've got it. You're standing up a is that multi-tenant, or
Yes.
are you running it, you standing up like a hosted environment for each customer?
Well, we can do either, but what we're finding is that the multi-tenant approach creates some cost efficiencies that we can pass on to the clients, providing that the security protocols are tested and in place, and there's a lot of confidence around that we can actually get 4 or 5 companies to spread out the cost of a set of infrastructure and offer that to those companies as a multi-tenant environment at a significantly lower cost.
One last one here, and Darren, I see your hand up. I don't know if you have a question or comment there.
Yeah, so question one, which hyper-converged platform did you settle on? First, I'll stop with that.
Lenovo.
Okay. So you're running VMware on top of that environment, or are you running a native hypervisor?
No, we're running VMware on top of Lenovo.
Okay. Thanks for that. We're actually looking at the Nutanix platform and the potential to dump our VMware and go strictly to the Acropolis and hypervisor, but I'm still doing due diligence on it. Second, I like the model. We've actually talked about something similar as a regional play for centralizing the core functions of the different PUDs in our area and having them managed as a service. I think we're not close to that for some of the core power pieces, but I think it's a reasonable and can be an effective model, especially in a place like some of the more rural areas like ours, where getting talent is very difficult. We've gone now since we've enabled policies for work from home and otherwise. We're nationwide with our hiring, but prior to that, we were local market talent only. It was very difficult to find the right people. So I like the idea.
Well, one of the issues has always been the I/O. So, everyone here is looking at AWS or Google because it's just, infinitely scalable in terms of the storage. So Bill, are you doing any kind of specialized hardware to get, you try and put 3D seismic up into AWS, you truly need to drop a semi truck of data at their data center to get the data in and out.
Yeah, so that's really not feasible. And there's a lot of reasons for that. In particular, you can't run that kind of data set over an internet connection.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is providing, very specific, dedicated network infrastructure to begin with. And then there is a high performance compute layer that is heavily reliant on NVIDIA GPU pods.
Yep.
And then we have an NVMe high performance, high availability tier. And then we have a very massive, highly scalable object storage tier underneath that, all designed to create extremely low latency, high availability, high performance, but without the throttling that you're going to get in a public cloud environment, and then without a lot of the excess fees.
By the way, fast object store has come up more often in the last year than I've heard people moving to object store as the I don't know, the next generation. Scality and others come up all the time, so I like to hear that. That's notable.
I think what we're finding is that the 4 focus areas are really on high performance compute, high performance storage, and then that really comes in 2 flavors. It comes in a flavor of NVMe, all flash, and then an object store to support that, right? So if you run the object store in a support relationship to the NVMe layer, you get a lot more performance out of the NVMe. And there are some really great products out there like Weka IO, for example, which is something that we're pretty heavily invested in, that infinitely creates more power at the NVMe layer. So if you have the object store under the NVMe and you have Weka communicating and creating the availability between those 2 tiers, you can create some very nice reference architectures that dramatically increase the power of the NVMe layer. Does that make sense?
It does to me. Bill, thank you. Let's keep going around. I'm interested to go to Ustat Singh. I want to get to Guillermo Barreto. I want to get to Leroy Kaufman, Ken Williamson. We'll keep doing it. Let's see if Ustat is on the line with us. Ustat, you there?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I'm Ustat. I actually just recently started at BP. Before this, I was working at Deloitte in internal IT. So, definitely have a lot of experience in transformation into the cloud space and doing a lot with the cloud space. Over here at BP, we have been, at least our division has been very cloud forward. I don't know if Hank is on here, but Hank is also my peer, who I don't see him on here. But
I don't think he made it.
Yeah, he didn't make it today, but he's been there longer than I have, so we've had our process control network in Amazon, our corporate network in Azure, and we just have very few things that are still left on-prem that we're working on either retiring or moving off into the cloud. So I think as far as a cloud journey, we are definitely ahead of the curve.
Got it. And Ustat, so give us a breakdown. You're BP, so I don't know, 200,000 employees. I mean, you guys are global. What percentage of the business, very high level here, do you think is cloud?
So I can't really speak for the global side. I'm going to speak specifically for the U.S. side as I deal with that more in depth here. So as far as our operations go onshore in the lower 48 states, like 90% of our operations are in the cloud right now.
Wow.
I would say even greater than that in the cloud right now. Like I said, we have a few legacy applications that are left in our data center that we are trying to retire and have something to take over those operations. So we have moved almost everything that you can think of into the cloud. So, and this is before the pandemic. This has been a transformation that our CTO put in place, specifically for the US side of BP a couple of years ago. And so, like I said, we've made a lot of progress here. Even with global, we do work with global a lot. I don't know percentages high level there, but I can tell you that we have a significant, footprint in the Azure space as far as global BP goes.
So, all right. I mean, first of all, that's fantastic. What's one? No, you know what? Let's look ahead. I was going to say, what is a lesson learned? Looking forward, what's one initiative that's kind of big 12-month kind of initiative? Maybe it's DevOps, maybe it's AI ops. I don't know, CI/CD pipeline, ITSM. What's one area that is a big area of investment and focus for improvement?
Yeah, so for us specifically in the US side, our DevOps space is really going to be critical moving forward here. We have, as most of the oil and gas industry has lost people, we have lost a few. We have lost headcount as well. I think BP announced it was about 25% globally, and that's the same, about the same for the US side as well. So, one of the things that, I think we are lacking on is automation. So that's one place where we're going to be focusing a lot of our time and money on in the next 12 months.
What is that? I'm sorry, I'm just going to pick on that for a minute, because automation for me can mean so many different things. What's an area that's where automation would really help?
So, okay, so basically I want to be a ticketless team. As far as the infrastructure side goes, we don't want tickets coming in unless it's an actual incident, right? So we want developers to be able to automatically create resources, deploy things, with all the guardrails around them. Right now we get tickets for infrastructure. We don't want any of those things anymore. We want everything to be automated end to end, give developers the flexibility that they need to be able to create and delete environments as they please. So that's really what our goal for the next 12 months is going to focus on. We really want to be advisors as far as, the infrastructure side goes. We want to advise on how can we save money, or if there's any new things out there, that we can use. So we want to be that kind of team for our devs. So we don't want to get those infrastructure tickets. So that's what I'm talking about when I say automation. Same thing with our monitoring and responses. We want to be more automated in that. There's many things that we can, remediate through automation. So we're going to be focusing on that area as well.
I get it. So when I'm hearing using intelligence to, no false positives or duplicates on your tickets, that's incident management, right? Isn't that just
so there's
PagerDuty? Isn't that what PagerDuty does? They have the ticket and they say, oh, that's the same as those 3 other tickets. Just, package that with that other number.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, as far as the AI goes on incident management and stuff. So there's I think if you guys are familiar with MoveSoft or, even ServiceNow incident management pieces, right? So there's a couple opportunities there that we're looking at as far as incident management goes in particular. But it's also, right now, what we have is dashboards, right? And people are responsible for looking at dashboards, deciding what's important and what's not important. What I'm moving the team towards now is everything is integrated into ITSM, and everything is going into ServiceNow. We're deduplicating. We're using some intelligence there to group things, figure out what things are affected. We want to get to preemptive, but that's going to be more of a FY22 goal for us. Right now, we're just going to say, okay, how do we integrate all our tools together? How do we get sort of that single pane of glass, even if we're using multiple tools?
Can I ask you, does MoveSoft really work? I'm always a little I get it, but I'm wondering if you're training each time you get an incident, you're spending all your time training the system as opposed to really saying, oh no, that's really not a Sev 3. That's really this. You know what I mean? Are you confident that something like MoveSoft AI is really going to provide efficiency over, just solving the problems with people?
Yes, I can tell you about my experience when I was at Deloitte, right? So we used MoveSoft AI there, and I think if you are actually using that instead of ServiceNow as your tool to, look at issues and do things with issues, I think it works fantastically. There's a lot of, yeah, I think we saw a lot of improvements as far as MTTDs and MTTRs go. So I think, it was definitely a really good tool. We were able to integrate it with all the different stacks because, over there we were very siloed, right? The network team had its own tools. The database team had its own tools. Everyone has their own tools. So getting signals and, being able to make sense of those signals, I thought was really helpful in that. ServiceNow has something very similar as well, a similar offering, which we then later moved on to. There's a couple of tools out there, but I think, they are definitely helpful.
Great feedback.
Yeah.
Love it. Ustad, thank you very much. Hey, I'm going to keep circulating here, but I really appreciate you joining and sharing with the group. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Guillermo, I've been relaxing, looking at that beach with the nice summer breeze. Please give an intro to the group.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guillermo Barreto. Short memo. Guillermo in English would be William or Bill. So hello, William. I work with Alkane Midstream. We're located in North Dakota. Alkane Midstream at its core is a virtual pipeline for LNG, which is captured from flare gas, and then we liquefy it and we take that fuel to market. As of March of this year, Alkane acquired a power generation company called Power Solutions, servicing the Williston Basin out of the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. And that's where I came into the business. I was with Power and was acquired with my team. So in essence, my responsibility is to deliver reliable power solutions to oil producers in the Bakken that have stranded gas and a lack of utility power for production sites that are off the grid. And we integrate the LNG business with power generation as of late. A lot of the crypto mining enterprises and entrepreneurs that have been building data centers for crypto mining have come up the energy chain and have moved up from Silicon Valley into the oil patch. And so we are now also focusing our efforts on providing power through a number of different platforms to these data centers. So Bill, if you guys have data centers and you want to move them up the energy chain and you need power generation, give me a holler.
Cool. All right. So Guillermo, we're talking IT here. What's one IT transformation project you guys are focused on?
So when we were Power Solutions, we were a small team, and the company that acquired us, Alkane, was a little heavier on their IT structure, and we had to migrate to understanding Microsoft Teams. We used to use the WhatsApp. We have a number of techs deployed out through the field when it comes to us communicating as a team and moving resources in the field in an effective manner. And the WhatsApp worked pretty well for us, but Teams has, a little more nuances when you learn the platform. It creates certain advantages. The other thing that we had to kind of got schooled in is a telemetry platform that we are trying to implement. Our business model has not been CapEx intensive. The generator world could be a pretty expensive one, and we didn't want to box ourselves into any particular brand of a generator. So what I focused on was developing a team of great guys that are committed to the oil field. It's a difficult environment, especially in North Dakota. And so I've got a polished group of guys that are really the asset of the company. Mm-hmm. And what we've focused on is there are other generator companies that don't quite have the service capability that we do. And so they have their equipment up against the fence. And what I do is I re-rent their equipment and I use my team on it. So the benefit of that is we operate a number of platforms. And so there we have a better fit of the appropriate power solution to the application that we're going to power. So we can use turbines, we can use reciprocating engines, diesels, natural gas. And so that's kind of what's made us successful. So integrating IT, the Microsoft Teams and this telemetry platform is important because the assets are not ours. But yet we want access to telemetry and insights of the running conditions that that generator or that turbine is running. And so being able to apply a telemetry system to the asset that isn't ours is of value. And so we're in that process.
Are you supporting, did you say you're supporting third-party generators with your service and monitoring platform?
No, so we take operational ownership of these generators. We take them other, people that have inventory, and we use their inventory, and we take operational ownership of that generator. And so we're accountable for the runtime to producers.
I got it. And in terms of your IT ops, are you a cloud shop? Are you sitting, are you sitting in some servers in your data center? How do you run things?
Honestly, that's not my department. I'm the power guy. I just, I'm given a set of tools that the company uses, and I learn how to use them. And that's I'm a user, so I'm not, a lot of the terms that you guys have been bouncing back and forth are completely elusive, and I ignore a bunch of them.
All right. All right. I got it. Understood. Well, it's good to hear your story, Guillermo. Thank you very much. Hey, Leroy, let's get you in. Leroy, thanks for joining. Give an intro, please.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Pleasure to be here. I'm joining this from a little bit of a different direction than most of you. I wasn't completely clear on exactly the nature of this group, but I'm always looking for opportunities to mingle with smart people and learn some new things. So I have a software business that was grown from a solar contracting business that I own. I'm based in Fresno, California, have about 80 employees, and we sell and install residential and commercial solar systems. And as a contractor, we often have challenges with helping solar consumers, utility consumers understand how their bill works once they go solar, the net metering process. And they'll often call unhappy that they've got a true up, is the common term in PG&E territory, where once a year they have to square up with the utility. And if they've overconsumed or underproduced, they have a bill they weren't expecting oftentimes. So we created a software called No True Up, where using an API connection with the utility, the 3 investor-owned utilities in California, plus a couple of inverter manufacturers, we can present the data in a way that helps that consumer understand, am I going to have a true up in 6 months based upon looking at historical consumption, historical production, and then give them peace of mind that no, it's in line with what I've had in the past, or it's going to be lower than what I've had, or I'm looking at a large true up in 6 months, unless I make some changes to my energy consumption habits or I change how much energy my solar produces. We also, with the same product, provide a service to contractors who may be installing a couple hundred solar systems a year, and they have long-term workmanship warranty obligations and production guarantees in some cases. And using the only tool they have is the solar inverter. Solar Edge is an example, or Enphase, which can't be the most reliable means of knowing whether a fleet of systems is working well. And by tapping into the utility data, we can draw conclusions about how well that solar is performing by looking at the amount of power that's pushed to the grid, how much power is pushed, when it's pushed, how that compares to the same period the previous year, and draw their attention to systems that may be a problem, and they can get ahead of unhappy customers by engaging the customer and letting them know that, hey, you've got a large true-up coming, you may not be aware of it. And a lot of contractors are moving into a service-based model. They may have been an installer primarily for the past 10 years, but as the fleet of solar systems that have been installed starts to age, they're starting to need work. Optimizers may go out, or microinverters, or even the inverter has a fixed lifespan that's much less than the lifespan of the solar system. So using our software, they can help drive their service business and manage it in a way that suits their business model. They may want to minimize truck rolls. And by looking at the software, their customers calling with a concern or a problem, they can know fairly quickly whether the system is on or not, if it's pushing power to the grid, and they may be able to resolve it without a truck roll, or they may want to drive their service business. So they're looking for opportunities through reading the data to engage a customer and make them aware of a problem.
Leroy, by the way, it's interesting to learn about it. I just have one simple question. in the COVID world here, has there been an acceleration of the installation of solar, or has there been a pause?
When COVID first hit, there was a significant reduction. But since the middle of summer, we're back to a normal volume of residential contracts. Pricing is lower, is more competitive. But in solar, at least in California, was viewed as an essential service, the installation of solar. So people see it as a way to save money, to control their energy cost in the future. And the tax credit, the ITC is, getting ready to sunset completely at the end of next year, which is creating some urgency for folks to go solar, residential customers to go solar.
Nothing better than a deadline. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Leroy, thank you for joining, and really interesting to hear. I'm happy you dialed in. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to go to two others. Let's go to Robert Galoni. Maybe we'll wrap after Robert and have Bill help us wrap up, and then we'll do a quick vote. I think our candidates here are Guillermo, Michael, and Christopher. So we'll place a vote. We'll find a winner. Robert, are you on the line with us?
I'm still here.
Hey, thanks for joining, man. Please give your quick intro to the group.
Well, I'm first name's Robert, but most people call me Bob. I work for NEC Energy Solutions out of Massachusetts. We're about 45 minutes outside of Boston, and we produce both software and hardware solutions for the energy industry. You may have heard me earlier if you've come late. We build large UPSs to get tied into solar farms, wind farms, power grids for things like brownouts, reserve power, and so on and so forth. We also develop software to monitor a lot of these systems as well.
Bob, so I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked the group. What's one IT initiative, transformation, can be related to infrastructure, that your organization is pursuing, exploring, researching? What's a big picture priority for you?
So it sounds to me like I have a little bit of a benefit or a leg up on most of the attendees. Working in high tech, we're in an engineering environment. There's a lot more investment in tech than most. So I've heard a couple of guys mention ERP. We just went through a major ERP swap out. We moved away from Oracle for a lot of the same reasons everybody else has. Bottom line is the cost, and we've transitioned over to Infor.
Got it.
Which was a challenge. Everybody knows migrating ERPs is not easy. But what I pride myself on saying though is that we did it in 8 months. Been through it.
How big is the company? How many employees?
Well, NEC in general is a 10,000 plus company. So they're rather large, but our division, at peak, about 250.
All right. Still, you move a big organization in 8 months to an ERP that's pretty. I haven't heard that before. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been through it a couple of times. I've done migrations to SAP, Dynamics, Infor, and a few others. The mechanisms are the same. The platforms generally are very similar. The one looks prettier than the other, but the core functions are still traditionally the same. Business functions don't really change. Accounts payable, accounts receivable. It's really in the exporting and importing of the data and making sure the data gets transferred over to the new system, so you don't run into a lot of issues with adding the math come year end.
And Bob, looking forward, now that you're on Infor, what's on the roadmap for the next year?
Well, NEC, full disclosure, guys, NEC recently made an announcement that our corporate company, NEC Japan, is actually getting out of the energy storage business. It was dropped on us about the beginning of the year in April. So we are transitioning to either being wound down over the next 12 to 18 months or being bought out. Right now, it looks like we have several individuals that are on the hook for possibly purchasing us.
Well, good luck. That's not enviable to go through a transition.
Well, it's,
But,
I've worked for
land on-
startups. I've
land on both
worked for
feet.
startups most of my career, and I mean, it's pretty common.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very good. Bob, thank you. Let's do this. Bill, you've heard the conversation here. Please help us with a quick wrap up and any key takeaways that you've heard from our discussion.
Well, so first of all, I want to thank everyone again for your time and attendance. It's really great to meet you guys and chat with you. What I'm hearing a lot is that there is a lot of urgency around modernization, digitization, decentralization, and I think that those are, that's exactly where everybody should be. That's my opinion. I think that the idea of owning and operating a lot of your own infrastructure is like carrying an anchor. You can't be agile. You can't make quick decisions and do rapid transformations if you're tethered to a big chunk of steel, right? So I think that more and more companies are understanding the need to let go of the anchor. And what I'm hearing is that everybody's kind of moving in the right direction. You're talking about the right things. You're thinking about the right things. And certainly, I would love to offer myself as a resource to help anybody, have a more thorough discussion about any of those things. It may sound like we're kind of really focused on data center infrastructure, which we are. We're probably one of the 3 or 4 largest data center infrastructure organizations in the world. But we are also very invested in a lot of field technology, a lot of decentralized platforms, edge platforms, and we're leveraging a lot of 5Com that's out there now, and we're kind of one of the pioneers in that space. So happy to help any way that I can.
Excellent. Yeah, folks, look, if you have an opportunity for Bill and his team, or you have a colleague, of course, I mean, those intros would certainly be appreciated. Bill, thanks so much for co-hosting with me here today. Folks, let's do a quick vote. Everybody who, raise your hand for one person. For Mike, we have Michael and we have Guillermo. You want Michael? Raise a hand. Michael Farrer. Just raise a hand with that reaction. 1, 2. Uh-oh. I think Guillermo may. 3. All right. Everyone who wants to vote for Guillermo, raise a hand. 1, 2. These guys may not be in. It may be a tie. It's a tie. All right. There you go, guys. Guillermo and Michael. Thanks, guys. You both got it. Hey, let's wrap it up. Thank you all for taking the time today. I really enjoyed it. Great to meet you all. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.